You know that feeling when you're busy all day, but you get to the end of it and think, what did I actually do today? Like the hours just passed, and you weren't really in them. I think most people feel that more than they admit. And it's not laziness. I want to say that up front. It's not that you don't care. It's that nobody ever showed you what was quietly leaking out of your days and where it was going. This is a story about a guy who figured that out. One uncomfortable night, a notebook, and a question he finally stopped running from. His name was Rohan, 29, sales rep at a pharmaceutical company in a mid-sized city. From the outside, he was fine. Had a job, paid his rent, went out on weekends. Nobody looking at him would think, that guy's in trouble. But Rohan had something eating at him. He'd spent 3 years applying to MBA programs, 14 applications. He'd worked on those essays, done the prep, told himself this was the year. 14 rejections. And the thing that hurt most wasn't the rejections themselves. It was the feedback. His applications were thin, generic. They read, one admissions officer wrote, like someone who wants success but hasn't done the work to earn the story yet. He read that line 3 times. After the 14th letter, Rohan did what I think a lot of us do when we've tried something and it keeps not working. He just stopped. He told himself the MBA wasn't that important anyway, that the system was rigged, that he'd find another way. And maybe some of that was even true, but mostly he was just tired of wanting something and coming up short. So he put it away, stopped reaching, made himself comfortable with where he was. 8 a.m. wake-ups, get to work just in time, do the job, come home, watch something, sleep, repeat. But if you'd asked him honestly, in a quiet moment, he'd tell you he felt like he was standing still while everything moved around him. Then one evening his younger brother called, 24 years old, 3 years behind Rohan in everything, school, experience, age. He'd just been promoted to senior analyst at a top consulting firm. Rohan said congratulations, genuinely meant it, hung up, and then just sat there. His little brother, who started later, knew less, had fewer years in the field, was now ahead. And something about that, not with bitterness, just with clarity, made Rohan finally look at his own life straight on. I'm being lapped by my own life. That night, he couldn't sleep. So around midnight, he picked up a notebook, one of those cheap lined ones, and he just started writing. He wrote, "What have I actually done with my time these past 3 years?" He worked 8 hours, slept 7, commute, meals, the basics, call it 4 hours. That left 5 hours a day that were technically his. 5 hours a day, times 365, times 3 years. He did the math slowly. 5,475 hours. He wrote it again, underlined it. 5,000 hours in 3 years. That belonged to him. He thought about what you could actually build in 1,000 hours of deliberate practice. Research says that's enough to reach real professional competency in most skills. Not mastery, but enough to be genuinely useful, enough to work, enough to get paid. He'd had 5,000 hours. He'd watch them go. And here's the thing about that moment. It wasn't a sad moment, really. It sounds like it should be. But Rohan told me it felt more like relief, Because the story he'd been telling himself, that he didn't have time, that the system was unfair, that he just needed a lucky break, that story quietly collapsed. It wasn't bad luck, it was a choice. A slow, unconscious, daily choice. And choices can change. He started reading about people he admired. Not celebrities, just people a level or two above him. How they talked about their time, how they structured their days. And the pattern that kept coming up, not in a motivational poster way, just practically, was this idea of protected time. Hours that weren't up for negotiation. Hours that belonged only to building. And the window almost everyone pointed to? 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Before the emails start. Before the phone fills up with other people's needs. Before the day has any weight to it yet. 2 hours. Every morning. Just yours. Rohan did the math on that too. 2 hours a day is 730 hours a year. That's more than 18 full 40-hour work weeks, just from waking up 2 hours earlier. He thought about what 18 weeks of focused work would have produced 3 years ago. He set his alarm for 5 a.m. The first week was rough. I won't pretend otherwise. He'd drag himself up in the dark, make coffee, sit at his desk and try to focus while his body was saying, "What are you doing? Go back to sleep." He'd chosen data storytelling as his skill, the ability to take raw numbers and turn them into something a business executive could actually use. It was what his MBA applications had been missing. It was what his current job needed, and nobody was doing well. So every morning from 5 to 5:45, course videos, practice exercises, building small things nobody asked for. Then he'd go for a run. Nothing serious, just 30 minutes around the neighborhood while it was still quiet. He'd read somewhere that exercise before learning helps the brain retain information faster. So he figured, why not? Turns out it's true. He started looking forward to that run. Then back home, coffee, 30 minutes of just thinking. What did I build this week? What's the next step? What's one thing I can do today that moves this forward? That was it. 2 hours. Then shower, breakfast, work. No dramatic transformation in week 1 or week 2. But somewhere around day 20, he noticed something small. He was waking up a few minutes before his alarm. His body had just accepted this was who he was now. That's the moment it stopped being discipline and started being identity. 6 weeks in, his manager called him into a meeting. The company was restructuring. His entire sales region was being absorbed into another division. He had 60 days to find an internal transfer or take a severance package and leave. Every insecurity Rohan had ever carried about his career showed up in that moment. His first instinct was to panic apply everywhere, send his CV to anyone who'd take it, go back into survival mode. He almost did. But that evening, he opened the folder on his laptop where he'd been saving his 5 a.m. work. 6 weeks of it. Data visualizations he'd built from scratch. A full analysis of his own company's regional sales performance, something nobody had asked him to do. He'd just done it to practice. He looked at it all together for the first time. And quietly, without drama, he thought, this is a portfolio. He didn't mass apply. Instead, he found the email address for the VP of Strategy, someone 3 levels above him he'd never spoken to, and sent one email. Subject line: something I built that might be relevant right now. Attached was a clean PDF, a data narrative report on exactly where the company's new sales structure had efficiency gaps. The VP replied in 4 hours. "Can we talk tomorrow?" 2 weeks later, Rohan transferred into a newly created role, Junior Strategy Analyst. Different title than he'd imagined. Better trajectory than anything he'd planned for. His old manager asked him, processing the paperwork, "How did you even get on the VP's radar?" Rohan said, "I started waking up earlier." 14 months later, he reapplied to 2 MBA programs. Not because he needed it anymore, his career had already shifted, but because he finally had the story. He finally had something real to write about. His application essay opened with, "For 3 years, I was qualified on paper and empty in practice. Then I found 2 hours a day that nobody else was competing for." The admissions officer who interviewed him said it was the most honest opening she'd read in years. Here's the thing I keep coming back to when I think about Rohan's story. He wasn't exceptional. He wasn't unusually disciplined. He didn't have some secret advantage. He just found the 1 hour of the day that nobody was competing for, and he stopped giving it away. 5 a.m. isn't magic. It's not about the time itself. It's about what that hour represents. The part of your day before the world has any claims on you. Before the notifications. Before the obligations. Before the 100 small things that other people need from you. That hour is yours. So here's what I'd ask you to do. Not tomorrow, tonight. Before you go to sleep, open your phone. Set an alarm for 5 a.m. And before you close this video, decide on one thing you want to build. One skill, one project, one thing that if you were genuinely good at it 90 days from now would change what's possible for you. Then drop it in the comments. Write day 1 and whatever that thing is. Because I think the most underrated thing in self-improvement is just having one person say, "Yeah, I see you. Go do it." If this story landed for you, share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. And subscribe if you want more of this. Rohan's words before I go. He said, "The alarm going off at 5 isn't the hard part. The hard part is deciding the night before that tomorrow is going to be different. Make that decision tonight. The rest takes care of itself."